So hi and happy Monday. Yes, I usually come to you on a Tuesday, but I won't be in tomorrow, so I thought I'd come the day early on a Monday, but it's not just any Monday. It is Patriots Rule Monday. Yes. I'm from New England, in case you can't tell. Okay, that aside, we all knew that was going to happen, but now that it's happened, Patriots domination, we can move on here. So I'm Dr. Laura Dabney, relationship psychiatrist, and although I usually help men, successful men, by the way, with their very difficult relationships, I'm coming to you in this context really to anybody who's had trouble getting help for their emotional relationship problems. Maybe you've been on the fence, maybe you've been afraid, maybe you just don't know who to turn to. I'm hoping that this forum will help answer some of those questions or at least get you in the door to somebody. Okay, so this month, so last month we talked about parenting. That's a very loaded topic, but this month I want to talk to you about what if you're the toxic person in your relationships? I actually have some folks who come to me with the chief complaint, is what we call it, saying that a lot of their relationships are unfulfilling, unhappy, stressful, and they have enough insight to say, I'm the common denominator, Dr. Dabney, right? And I think that's it's always a very moving point for me, because to help yourself, that insight is invaluable. It's also rare. Okay, so if you're able to see that something's not right, even if you don't know what it is, you're halfway there, or more than halfway there. Okay, so let's talk a little bit about what do I see? What do I see in somebody where I go, ooh, you maybe have trouble relating to people? Okay, because some people, I mean, everybody has relationships that don't go well, and this is all sort of a gray or fine line area. But if most of your relationships or majority of relationships are not fulfilling, end up with a lot of acting out or abandonment, if it seems more than the average person, then it's certainly worth checking out, right? All I can say is, well, you're handling it, it's not outside the range of norm. But there are some, I guess, red flags that I see in people that let me know that their ability to handle relationships is a little off, and they might be the toxic person in the relationship. Okay, so what are those red flags? One is if you have arguments with really anybody, if you have arguments more than once a month or more. It's not the norm for people to have arguments erupting a lot. Okay, so that may be a sign. Similarly, if you never have arguments, especially with your loved one, partner, however you want to put that. People who tell me, when I say to people, so how do you deal with your, with your anger with your loved one? And they say, oh, we never argue. That gives me pause. Okay, so arguing a lot, not arguing at all. When there's a problem in your relationship and you have no idea what to do, I'm not talking about you may come up with a few things to do, you know the best thing to do. I'm talking about if you have no idea what to do ever once you're in a tough situation with somebody, even in hindsight, that's a sign as well. Parents who have children who never rebelled. That sounds odd, but it's not right. That tells me that somehow you aren't able to handle give and take and some friction. And when I have a parent in here and they say, oh, Johnny is 22 years old and never gave me a moment's trouble. Yeah, that's a sign that you may have difficulty with relationships, actually. Same thing along the lines with kids. If you have, and this is a sensitive topic, but if you have let a child go, and let's say you let your ex take full custody and it doesn't bother you all that much, that's a bad sign. Okay, I'm not talking about the people who have, for whatever circumstance, have let a child go, and if it's a heartache in you, okay, that's different than the person who doesn't have that heartache. These are people who say things like, well, I had the child too young and I'm going to live my life now. The people who would rather party than get part custody or full custody of their child, that's not a good sign. Okay. If you don't have any long-standing relationships, even if you're married, let's say, and you don't have any friendships from your past, your elementary or high school or college, that may be a sign that you have some relational problems. Any legal problems you have, not civil stuff, but criminal stuff. If any criminal stuff is going on, even if you didn't plan it or you're totally surprised, that's also a sign that you may not know how to relate to people in an optimal way. Okay. And of course, there are exceptions to all these, and please don't write in and say I'm prejudiced or stereotyping. It's just, those are, especially if there's more than one of those, that's where you may be onto something, that you might not have the best way of relating to people. Okay. So where does this come from? Because people ask me that too. Well, how did I get this way? How come I can't relate well? And we always go back to your first most important relationships with your parents. Okay? And your siblings is also important. But definitely your parents, of course, were the ones who showed you first how to have a long-standing intimate relationship. That's their job. That's where everybody's supposed to learn it. But of course, we have parents who aren't perfect. All of us do. And if you're a parent, there's two ways this happens. One is either your parents didn't relate well and you absorbed all that. Even if you said to yourself, oh, I'm never going to be like that, which is very common, right? If you don't know any other way to be, if you haven't been taught how to be any other way, you are going to be that way. Again, maybe not fully conscious, but you pick up those patterns because you haven't been taught to do otherwise. Interestingly, your parents may have gotten along okay or decently, but they didn't get along, your parent didn't get along well with you. And I don't mean just not get along well with, but didn't teach you how to go through a difficult or stressful situation. So you may have had a parent that just let you, didn't step in and never discipline you, didn't want to make waves. So if you wanted to skip school, oh well. If you wanted to smoke pot, oh well. If you want to, oh well, right? There's those parents, and you may have had that. So how would you learn how to have the talk about negative feelings and the compromising that we always talk about with couples? It's not going to happen if your parents didn't go through that with you. Similarly, if you had a parent who was over-invasive, over-controlling, you never got to practice the give and take with that person. You just had to do it their way. Even if you rebelled and they still, got more and more clamped down on you, that a child learns to give up the rebelling because it doesn't work, right? And they may just leave home, and how do they know then? Right? So that's typically where relationship problems stem from, in my experience. But I say all that with this important statement. There is hope. Even if most of your relationships are unsatisfying, toxic even, there is hope for you to learn the basic, healthier patterns. And I can tell you what those are. And for starters, I want to say falls into two camps. People who have long-standing relationship problems. Either you're causing a problem, you have some toxic behavior that you don't even realize is toxic, and so you keep doing it. And you have no idea what that is, probably, because it's almost always driven by something unconscious. Okay? So either you have toxic behavior, or you're not stopping another person's toxic behavior. Now, I want to just clear up that I'm not saying you haven't changed the other person, because a lot of you come in here saying that, right? I can do relationships, but this person, I can't do a good relationship or have a good relationship until this person stops X. That's not putting up or stopping their toxic behavior. That's trying to get them to change. And that's not effective. So it's one of two things. Either you are causing some toxic, you're doing some toxic behavior, or you're not stopping another person's toxic or damaging behavior. Okay? People always say, well, can it be a mixture? Well, I mean, yes, it could be, but really typically you fall into one of those two camps. So we're going to talk about those two camps in the next couple of weeks, and then I'll do a wrap up on the last Tuesday in February. Okay? So February is no more toxic behavior on your part. Fixing your relationships, you fixing your relationships, because you can do it. Right? If I can help you with this more personally, on a more personal level, give me a call, 757-340-8800. Look forward to talking to you.